The British Way. September 25, 2020 by Anna von Reitz. There have always been Tories in America. There still are. I have proof. I get attacked by them, one way or another, every day that I live. These people come from many backgrounds including the obvious English scions, but they are united in their belief that anything that comes from England is superior. The mere idea that any upstart American colonists ever came up with anything better than being ruled over by a British monarch is anathema too unsettling to consider. Even briefly. Perhaps they fear that if they look, they'll see. And see something that they don't want to see? Which is the mean pettiness, cruelty, and guile that underlie the finer traditions of England. England is like a favorite son among the nations, but deeply flawed in character, so much so that it is at the bottom of nearly every dogpile plaguing the modern world. The Mideast? England. China as a threat? England. Corporate feudalism? England. It's hard to imagine how one tiny nation isolated on all sides by sea could possibly become a world power, much less a world destroyer. One must chalk it up to the unique character and abilities of the people who live here. Here in America, the Tories have been entrenched since day one. They survived the revolution very handily, thank you, with only a few high-profile Tories feeling compelled to flee to England or Canada afterward. More important, they survived the Civil War, which they promoted and benefited from tremendously. Always remember that the British territorial United States government largely controls and influences our military, especially the U.S. Navy, which sails under the British Monarch when it is on the high seas and navigable inland waterways. And to a lesser extent, the Marine Corps and Coast Guard. There is a reason that Colin Powell was knighted by Queen Bess II. It's not a good reason from the American point of view. This past week I have been engaged again in a discussion with British legal eagles about the nature and efficacy of British law and the remedies available to Americans who choose to live under it. Those promoting the British system as is, which includes voluntary slavery and remedies that amount to healing our own wounds by indebting ourselves even more than their spending has already done, can't seem to grasp the American perspective. Why can't we be content to receive military script as money and recompense for all that has been done to us and stolen from us? As one of them put it to me, it spends, doesn't it? He couldn't quite grasp the fact that spending more of my own credit to make up for British graft wasn't really a remedy in my view. He was equally abject when the glories of British judicial discretion were lost on me. When obeying the public law becomes discretionary, you have no law, I told him. He fell silent for a moment, stumped on that one, but quickly deflected and finally, not to be defeated, offered, "What is it that I want?" "I want you fellows to obey your constitutional obligations," I said flatly. He cocked his head to one side, as if he'd been doing that all along. So I spelled it out. When we, Americans, are on the high seas and navigable inland waterways, the British monarch is our trustee and is obligated to ensure our safe passage. This is similar to when crewmen and passengers board a ship and their safety becomes the captain's responsibility. The same applies when entering American military bases and arsenals and similar installations. Captain's rules apply. We all know that and take that for granted, but somehow miss the important point. This is a different kind of law, admiralty law, and it is literally a foreign law, with respect to us civilians, as is all federal code and its regulations and all state-of-state statutory law. These are all foreign law, with respect to us, and per the Constitution's Amendment 11, Americans are not subject to foreign law. The only other instance where Americans are subject to foreign law is if they happen to be engaged in the manufacture, sale, or transportation of alcohol, tobacco or firearms across state lines. If the Brits were obeying the constitutions with respect to us, they would not be presuming any form of British law upon us except in the aforementioned situations. So, I concluded, all I want is what you promised, that you honor your obligations under the constitutions, and stop trying to traffic Americans into British citizenship obligations and stop trying to subject us to British law and Roman civil law, both. I haven't heard a word back. The silence is deafening.